Hey guys, welcome back to After Hours with me, Jimmy Thistle. Today it is night now. I'm down in the living room doing a little bit of editing and recording this. Um, Today we've got Dawn, Soberfish on Facebook and Instagram. She's got an amazing account, and I actually first found her on Facebook, which is a bit, unusual these days. It's normally mostly on the old Instagram. So it was lovely to kind of find her account on Facebook and just see how massive it was. Dawn is an absolute pioneer. She's been sober since 2016, and through herself and the Club Soda guys and gals, they were like the first kind of people of the online sobriety community doing their thing, just getting people involved, and it's just been an amazing tour de force. So we all really have, all the people in the online community have kind of Dawn and those pioneers to kind of thank for. Dawn had a kind of normal-ish childhood growing up. She moved about a bit, but Dawn, started drinking kind of teen years, the usual, and just became a bit of a party girl, and just enjoyed the boozing. Had jobs and could fund it, but she had people that were kind of not helping her out. That's the wrong word, but like, they were doing maybe a bit more better financially than her, so they would just be very generous with the money, and she could just party. And as Dawn says, she never got married, didn't have kids, so when other people were kind of settling down, she was kind of thinking, it's not happening to me, which would then kind of compound the boozing, and it just kind of, as she said, she was kind of thinking it's not happening for me, but actually she was kind of scaring people away because she was just this kind of party girl and just boozing all the time. So yeah, great episode. Loved chatting with Dawn and just finding out about Soberfish, her account, and just her story. So bit of bad language, the usual, some trigger warnings because obviously there's talking about alcohol and stuff. So take care when listening, but listen for the similarities, guys, and not the differences. See you at the end. Dawn, welcome to After Hours. How are you today?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Like we were chatting off air, and you're like, you look like you're freezing. You look like you're absolutely roasted. Tell the listeners where you are, Dawn.
I'm currently in Koh Phangan in Thailand, and I'm
Copenhagen.
out here for the foreseeable future. Let's say I haven't got a
Yeah,
return ticket at the moment, so
right.
I did it last year for 3 months, and it worked really well. I'm working from here,
Yeah, yeah.
and so I'm just seeing when I
And
get sick of the sunshine.
have you got, well, I mean, when does that happen? Have you got like a little apartment there, or are you staying in like kind of like holiday accommodation? How does it work?
No,
Have
so
you?
I've just I was in Thailand before Christmas for 2.5 weeks in
Yeah,
hotel accommodation.
yeah.
But I booked all of this a long time ago, so I got quite good
Good
rates
deal. Yeah,
if you book quite far in advance. Then I went to Cambodia for a month, which was traveling. That was like my holiday because I've
yeah.
never been to Cambodia before, and I was traveling. And then this place, my parents are actually here as well,
Oh,
and
cool.
it's really reasonably priced, and it's dead like it's on the beach, and yeah, it's just it's a nice place to stay for a reasonable amount. But yeah, I don't have a kitchen. That's the only thing that kind of sends you home, is because if you don't have cooking facilities, you get, I know it sounds like first world problems, but you're just like, you start craving really plain food, like making a salad or a
Yeah.
bagel or something, something really simple that you could just
Just
make
something you don't
yourself.
have to go out for. Yeah. And I know, I mean, like I was in Thailand, 14 years ago. But I assume it's still fairly cheap for most things, because it was
Yeah.
just ridiculously cheap for
I mean,
food.
it's more expensive, definitely noticeable this year,
Right.
definitely noticeable last year, but still, you're not spending ridiculous amounts of money in Tesco's. So it's still a cheaper way of living, even when you've factored in the accommodation. So
Wow. And Koh Phangan, I'm trying to remember, because we went to a few different places. We stayed. Where's the James Bond
Is
island?
that Koh Samui?
Yeah, Koh Samui. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the neighbouring island. So you have to bounce onto there to come over here. So I flew from Cambodia to Bangkok, Bangkok to Koh Samui, and then got the ferry over here.
Right. We then went to Koh Lanta, and then we went to this amazing little place way down south called Koh Lipi, which is like it was like a 4-hour speedboat journey to get there. Then it's like a mile across and like 3 miles wide, so it's tiny, and it was just like what you can imagine the beach was like back in the day. It was just like pure white sand, all of that, and the councils around there were saying, right, we've got 1 more year in order to build, and then we're not going to build anymore. But you could see it; they were literally building, because we were staying in like kind of little beach huts and stuff, but there was resorts being built, and this thing was tiny. Do you know what I mean? And it gets cut off for like the monsoon season, so I would hate to go back and see it completely ravaged by, kind of tourism and all that. But it was honestly, it was paradise when we were there. So if you get a chance, go to Koh Lipi. It's probably quite a distance from you, 'cause it's way down south, but
no, I've actually been, I went for my 50th to
Koh Lipi.
Yeah, and I got my tattoos in Koh Lipi as well. It's a very special place. I got can you see you can't see it. How do I get you to see that?
Yeah, I can.
My shell.
Yeah.
I got that there. And I absolutely, apart from this island, I love that island too. Is it still beautiful then?
Yeah, because as I say, it was like nearly 15 years ago, and it was just, it was stunning. We had this place called The Family, I think. I don't know if they're still there, but they basically would go out, the father and son would go out during the day, catch whatever fish they caught, bring it in, lay it on the ice, and you could go up to it during the day and say, right, I'll have that swordfish tonight, and then go away, do your thing, come back down in the evening, and they would cook it on the grill for you. It was absolutely amazing. Yeah, it was just a different way of living, but we loved it. We were there for about 3 weeks, I think. So yeah.
Wow, nice.
Yeah. It was middle of winter, because I was living in London at the time. So my partner at the time, she had to go and fly to India for work. So I flew home, and I was still like all in holiday mode. And then I had to get on the tube, and it was like just all these miserable commuters going to work. There was snow on the ground, and I was like, I think I was still drunk because I was drinking in the train coming off the plane. But yeah, it was good times. Good times. Dawn, well, thank you for coming on today. Tell us a little bit about your childhood, where you grew up, and when you had your first drink.
Oh, so it's a long time ago, Jimmy. It's a long time ago. I was born in London, North London, and we moved to Poole in Dorset when I was 16, because my uncle was living in Bournemouth and we were visiting, and my parents were just like, actually, London, we kind of had it with that. Let's move to the beach. Mm-hmm. So the beach has kind of always been in my blood, but on my sobriety journey, I have kind of realised that move, age 16, had a lot to do with my drinking. Moving to a new area, leaving everything that I knew behind, all those friends that you've made since you were 5 in the school system, and kind of moving to a new area where everybody also had got those connections, deep connections for years. And suddenly I'm there. And Poole is a beautiful place. We're so lucky to live there, but for a long time I was like, I just want to go back to London. I just felt really on edge. Went to school, met who are still my friends now, ironically, at the school there. So I kind of forged those friendships going forwards from 16, but it was a rocky few years trying to fit in, and now when I work with people and everybody's issues are trying to fit in, aren't they? Everybody's issues are want to be liked, and it just depends how deep rooted that is. And mine was really deep rooted because I spent years not feeling good enough, not feeling part of the in crowd, always feeling on the periphery, until I realized actually you don't need to be in the in crowd. Actually being on the periphery is quite a nice place to be. Actually, if you take away all of that trying to be something and just be yourself, people naturally gravitate. So, but it only took 50 years to work that out. Slowly
but
does it.
when you're a teenager, you know the anxiety you have, and you think, oh my God, they think I'm not wearing the right things, or my hair's the wrong, color, or style, or whatever. I'm not listening to the right music. How do I find my people? And actually, it's much easier than we think. Like you're saying, be yourself, and you'll find your tribe. But you try and tell that to ourselves when we were that age, it's ridiculous, And I, like you, I moved. So we grew up in suburb of Glasgow, but my stepfather took my brother, me, my mum over to Greece for 2 years. So we moved to Greece, and it was like, and I just started high school. So although I had all my deep rooted friends from primary, met all these amazing new people at high school, which seemed to be quite easy because obviously I had the same accent and all of that stuff. But then we moved to Greece, and I just dug my heels in. I didn't want to be there. And I found it really difficult to make friends because I wasn't trying, And then we came back, and then I was straight back into my old school, which again was that I'd been away for 2 years. So to then try and pick up where I left off was super difficult as well. I still had my old friends and I'd kept in touch with them, but it was like suddenly I was new kid again, So I did go through that like twice almost in a short space of time. But again, it's like, tell the kid, this is okay. This is kind of what you do. And actually, I have moved around a lot because maybe I got that bug, and I do like kind of moving around to different places. And I've got friends in lots of different places, so it's it's just life, isn't it? But it is tough for teenagers. So So how did you think your drinking kind of started from there then?
I think I think I had my first drink around 14. I think I'd always been interested in it because my parents had a big social circle that revolved around alcohol. So my parents would have dinner parties, we'd go to the pub at the weekend. It was quite ingrained. And I would kind of look at it thinking, I want to be part of that because I was always older.
It's sophisticated. They're having fun, all of that.
Yeah. So, but then looking back at it now, I've got a vision of being in Poole, going to someone's house after the pub, back to an after party, and just kind of feeling that I had to drink and I had to smoke in order to be part of this crowd. And that kind of has really started, and I'm not blaming anybody else for it because you have your own choice. But I just remember thinking that there wasn't a lot of choice. That if I didn't do it, I would be on the edge. Yeah. But also, I was probably quite an awkward teenager, as I think most teenagers are. I wasn't confident in myself. I wasn't the prettiest girl in the room. I just wanted to be accepted, but also wanted to be part of this crowd that I'd met.
And have fun with them as well, though. That's the thing. You want to have fun. So if you're like saying, oh my gosh, I'm not old enough to drink, I'm going to go out with these people, but I'm not, you're not going to be fully accepted. And that is the sad kind of state of affairs. I think it might be getting better with the younger kids now, but in our day, it was like, if you didn't drink, there was the kind of geeks or whatever, in my opinion, that they were off doing their chess club and all that. They weren't. Do you know what I mean? They were probably doing some really cool things, like going hiking and all that. I wasn't interested in that. I was interested in hanging out with, people that were doing rock and roll things. So,
Definitely.
Yeah. It's, so you were, that was from about 14 up to 16 when you moved to Poole, was it?
Yeah, moved. And then so 16 to 18, I did A-levels, meeting these new friends. We were pretty wild. Moved in with my best friend, probably early 20s. And I always remember thinking, I want a fridge with a bottle of wine in so that when I get home from work, I'm going to have a glass of wine. Yeah. And I don't think a bottle of wine ever stayed in the fridge long enough to have a second glass the day afterward. You know, it was like a bottle of wine a day.
Yeah, you were thinking it was just there as this kind of what's the word, like sophistication. You're an
Yes.
adult now. You can just go, like we see it in the movies, don't we? Like the men with their whiskey decanters and all that, and the wine in the fridge, and you pour a glass. Yeah, if you're like me, you're not having a glass. You're just
No,
having, like you're having the bottle. So yeah, but
exactly.
it's weird that we think of that almost like transition into adulthood, you know, that rites of passage, that we've got this fridge, not thinking about all the nice food we can have in that fridge. You're
No.
thinking of, I want a fridge for a bottle of wine. Yeah, that's crazy.
We used to have a wine rack as well, and it never had any wine in it. You know, one of those ones that slipped in the fitted kitchen.
Yeah,
It just took up that bit of space.
Yeah, just
Never-
with the little
never had any
squares for the
bottles in it.
bottles. Yeah, I mean, I think we had one in one of our flats, and I think it had bottles of vodka in it as well and stuff like that, you know, but it was whatever was in there. It wasn't a full wine rack of really nice wines. It was just, that was a space to put something, and then it would get drank. It's
And
crazy.
so we then it was around the time of prinks, you know, pre-drinking to save money before you went out. And I think
Did we call it that though?
either.
Then, Dawn, I don't think we
Sorry?
called it. I don't think we called it prinks. I think that's like
No,
a
we
new
didn't.
thing. We didn't have a name for it. It was
Right.
just- yeah, prinks. They come up with all these names now, don't they? Yeah.
And I think looking back at that caused a problem because we used to be so drunk before we went out. Like before we'd left the house, we'd be like literally falling all over the place. And, you know, I remember one time, you know, one of my friends coming out, we were all sat in the cab, and one of my friends, she's sober now, she's been sober a really long time, longer than me, but she came out of the door and literally fell into the bush by the side of the door. You know, we hadn't even gone anywhere.
Yeah.
And then going out, you know, there was always shots. And I don't know if you remember as well, when they had a new drink come out, like they'd have like a pretty girl go around the club and give out bottle. Like, do you remember?
Well, it was like the Red Bull girls or whatever, because they would always bring you around vodka and Red Bull, and they were all like scantily clad or whatever, like biker chicks or whatever. And yeah, they would come round, and sometimes I think they'd be mostly giving you like free shots to begin with. And then you would be like, oh, that's really nice. I'll go up, and they give you like 10% off. I don't know. Yeah, there's all different deals, but I know what you mean. They don't do that anymore, do they?
Well, I don't think they'd get away with scantily clad girls, or giving out any kind of freebies.
Yeah. I mean, it's just a different time. But do you know what? That was probably. I mean, I remember the last time I saw someone like that was in London. What would have been about 14, 15 years ago. So it's not that long ago. But yeah, there was a big thing with especially Red Bull, and they wanted you to have the Red Bull, so they give you vodka Bacardi with it. Yeah.
So I remember that as well, and always doing shots, and then being like, with wine, couldn't be bothered to go to the bar, so I'd buy either a bottle of wine or a pint glass of wine, like or like wine and soda. I mean, oh God, even just saying it, and like in a really shitty club, having like that disgusting red coloured rosé with soda in a pint glass. You know, so the signs were there, and I think in my 20s we were all doing it. So it was a collective kind of, you know, Friday night, have your drinks at somebody's house, go out, do all of this. But I was always the one that was sick, always the one who couldn't move the next day. Everybody else didn't claim to be fine, but they managed to continue. But it kind of always floored me.
Do you think that you were? And I was talking about with someone the other day in the podcast about this. Do you think your friends were monitoring what they were drinking? Because I wasn't. I would just drink until I was a mess or the pub shut. But I don't. But thinking back, like I need to speak to some of my friends. Where they going? Well, I'm only going to have 5 pints tonight. Like they were getting drunk. Don't get me wrong. But me, I had no off switch. It was just I'm going to keep drinking. But I think looking back, my friends probably were limiting themselves to a point. Do you know what I mean? But I certainly wasn't. Yours weren't. No. Right.
And I think we had a couple of friends who were on good money, I wasn't
Yeah.
on good money. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
going out was,
What were you doing work wise at this point? Or were you
what was I doing then? I think I was working in a call center.
right? Okay.
Um, but I had friends living in London. I was living in Poole and
Yeah.
had met them, but they had then moved to London like after university. So
Hmm.
they were on quite good money. So if I had only had the money in my wallet, I probably would have gone home at like 10:30. But then
Yeah.
those friends were really generous, and they were like, no, oh, we'll get the cab, or we'll do, again, not blaming anyone, but it was kind of like, they had the facilities to keep going.
Yeah. Of
And it's
course.
funny because I've got quite a few sober friends now, done it off their own back, nothing to do with me.
Hmm.
But as time has gone on, it's like, we kind of had our fun, right?
Yeah.
Our fun is done.
But that's interesting because again, like as I say, I think looking back, they might have been monitoring their drinks. They might not have been because the one thing I can't seem to work out is like we were all doing similar things, and it wasn't just alcohol, And I'm thinking, how come I'm the only one that seems to have ended up, as a sober person, and they all seem to be just kind of cracking on with life normally and still drinking? Maybe they do have a problem. Maybe it's something they're hiding. I don't know. But it's interesting, like I seem to be out of that group of friends from like 14 up until our 20s when we all kind of dispersed. It seems to be me that's the one that had the deepest problem.
Are they
So
in
yeah,
Scotland though?
yes, the most of them are still in Scotland. Yeah, so
So
which
Scotland it has always been a bit of a hard nut to crack. I went
yeah,
to the Club Soda Festival. I think it was like 2017, which was in
hmm,
Glasgow, and
right,
really proud of my sobriety. And people in Glasgow were literally laughing, like, why would anyone want to do that? And
yeah,
so when I get Scottish people like in my group now, I'm always like, I'm really proud of them because
yeah.
I still think it's quite hard in Scotland
Oh,
to go
I
against
mean,
the grain.
I think even if they've got like a little bit, like I know a guy who is, I mean, he's sober now. He's been sober, I think, nearly 2 years, and I went to school with him, and he goes to AA in Scotland, and he said it's absolutely horrible. He said it's so. He said there's people outside trying to sell you stuff. He said they'll go
Oh
to the
God.
meetings. He said it's just, and it's like there's so many dry drunks. There's a lot of sober people, but there's a lot of dry drunks, just angry and just bitter and twisted. And he said they're huge meetings. And he said, like, I did it for a year, and then he was like, I'm not doing that. So he's doing all right with his sobriety now. But he said it just sounds horrible, like
Yeah.
it's really seedy and nasty. But again, like Glasgow had at one point, I think it's a lot better now, but at one point they had a lower life expectancy than some third world countries because of the diet, because of the alcohol, and because of the smoking. It's much
Wow.
better now, but it was definitely the worst city in Europe for alcoholism and
Wow.
alcohol related deaths. So yeah, because I had Darren McGarvey. I don't know if you know him. He's like an author, poet, hip hop rap artist from Scotland, and it's just an amazing story. He's done a few BBC documentaries, and he was on talking about that, and it's just like it's better now, but like they got themselves so bad that yeah. So I guess I see what you're saying. It is a tough nut to crack. So maybe some of my friends do drink more than they should, and they just don't want to admit that that there is a better way of life. But who
Yeah.
knows? So yeah.
They'll be watching. They'll be
They'll be
watching you.
watching. Hopefully, yeah, yeah. Well, that's it. That's the thing, Don. I just want people to kind of recognize it before it gets as bad as kind of myself and you. Do you know what I mean? If they can say, well, what am I still getting from this? Am I getting
Yeah,
anything from
definitely.
it? Like maybe I don't need to be doing a bottle of wine on a Tuesday night. Anyway, back to your story, Don. So you're going up to London. You've got your friends with deep pockets and things like that. Did you notice at that point? Did you think maybe I'm drinking too much, or it was just the lifestyle, wasn't it? I mean,
I think I'd always known. I think I'd
yeah,
always,
yeah,
in relationships, I was just a bit crazy, flew off the handle very easily. Um, I think the other problem, if you call it a problem, is that I didn't get married or have kids. So I
mm,
think when my friends were kind of getting pregnant or having a newborn baby to look after or having a 3-year-old that they've got to look after on a Sunday after a session,
mm-hmm,
it was a no from them. Whereas I never, not only did I not have an off switch, but I also had nothing stopping me. And I think that was part of my problem, is that if I have my time again, I'd definitely give up before I was 30, because I think in my 30s, it was unnecessary. It was just like carnage for no apparent reason. And I think it was a lot because I felt that I needed to get married and have children. And because it wasn't happening, it was making me drink more, because I felt a failure because I wasn't meeting anyone. But actually what was happening was I was just putting people off because I was just like all over the place. Yeah. So I wish that, I mean, I don't regret anything, but if I had my time again, I would be sober in my 30s rather than starting in my 40s. Well, I'd probably be sober from day dot, to be fair. But yeah, definitely I wish I'd done my 30s sober.
I can totally relate to that, Dawn, because, you know, I'm like I mean, I got married last August, and that was the first time I've been married, no kids. You know, I'm stepfather to 3 amazing kids now, and it's great. But like you, I was kind of always chasing that, I think, getting in the wrong type of relationships and probably pissing them off and then breaking up and all of that. And, you know, not really, but then also going, oh, well, you know, I don't need to get up for the kids at the weekend, you know, because I've got this freedom. This is my kind of bachelor life and all of that. But I was in, you know, kind of consistent relationships, but the wrong ones, obviously. And I think I remember I went back to uni at 32. Well, I went to uni. I'd not been to uni before that. I did college for photography. Then I went at 32 to do film studies. And I was like, right, by the time I'm 40, and I had all these aspirations that I wanted to be like a film director, then I changed it to be I wanted to be a writer, and then I want to have a book out and all. But my 30s just kind of quickly kind of faded into my 40s, and I got sober at 40. Do you know what I mean? But I didn't do any of the things that I'd set out to do in my 30s because I was drinking, you know. And I don't have any regrets. I'm not sad about that. I'm not sitting, you know, in a chair going, oh, my life. Do you know what I mean? Because my life is amazing now. But it's like all of those things that I set out to do, I probably could have done had I not been drinking, you know?
Absolutely.
Because I mean, it takes away all your kind of aspirations, all your ambition. And it just like, all I could see was, and obviously throughout my 30s, it was getting worse. Like what you're saying, 20s is a sow your wild oat decade. Good, crack on, do what you want. But then 30s is like knuckle down and make something of your life. Yeah.
And I think as well, I was conscious that I didn't want to be this falling over, being sick person for another decade. You know, and my brother's got 2 children who don't know me ever drinking, which I'm really proud of. You know, my nephew was 1 when I gave up. And by the time he was 2 or 3, he knew that I drank sparkling water. You know, he'd be like, that's Auntie Dorney's drink. Yeah. And I'm really proud of that, because I just had a vision of me like falling in the corner crying and him being like, what's that all about? You know, it's like, I just don't want that to be...
Well, you don't want to be known as drunk Auntie Dawn, do you? Do you know what I mean? That's that. And again, it's the same similarities, because my brother has got 2, and I was drinking when Holly was very little. I shouldn't say names, I'll beep that out. But anyway, it was like, I think I wasn't like completely off the rails. And I think if I was looking after her, there was definitely, I wasn't drinking. But, you know, the majority of the time they were in the house. So I stayed with them for a while. But then when I moved back here and they'd had my nephew, I was like, right, this is it. Do you know what I mean? Because I want to have a relationship with these kids. And at the moment, I'm just pushing everyone away. So, yeah, I didn't want to... And both of them, they've never known me to be, you know, drinking like at Christmas times or anything like that. It's like, you know, they haven't specifically said, because they're still very young. But you know, as we get older, I'm sure they'll probably notice that maybe I don't drink and that other people do. But yeah, it's just something that, you know, we kids do pick up on it. And like my stepkids, they've never and they will never see me, you know, being drunk and belligerent or, you know, just being a bit too excessive, because, you know, that's not what I am anymore. Right. How did it kind of then develop through your kind of 20s and 30s before it really kind of got to a crux, got to a head point?
I was wasting time and conscious of that, meeting the wrong people, you know, it was just, you could feel that it was snowballing. I would have a weekend and be, let's say, bending the truth about what I was doing because I was anticipating the hangover. So I wouldn't arrange to do anything on a Saturday night if I was out Friday, because I knew that I would just be absolutely floored. So yeah, it probably towards the end of my 30s actually saying that, my 40th birthday, I had a vision of how I was going to look on my 40th birthday, where I was going to be at. I failed on all of it. You know, I wanted to be a non-smoker. I wanted to be, this was another reason why I stopped drinking, was because I tried numerous times to stop smoking. And every single time I had a drink, I went back to it. So I'd also tried to lose weight from when I was 16 until I was 42 when I started doing this. And the only thing that has kept weight off is not drinking. You know, for all of those years, I would celebrate a weight loss by getting a bottle of wine and a Chinese, which now you look at it, you're just like, what? Like, you're paying £5 a week for a person to tell you that you've lost half a pound, and then you go and drink a bottle of wine and buy a Chinese. Like, it's time to eat and drink. So
this is what's putting it on in the first place, and then you're celebrating.
I know.
With, it's like giving up smoking for a month and then having a 20-pack just to celebrate. You know,
it's just crazy. And so it was in the summer of 2016. Weirdly, in my Facebook feed came up some before and after photos of people who'd stopped drinking. And I'd never Googled anything to do with alcohol or sobriety. I didn't even know online sobriety things existed. And so it was really weird that it popped up. And ironically, there was another guy who I knew all those years ago when I got sober, who was inspired by the same article. And he said he'd never Googled anything either. So it was like, that's really weird, like how it just popped up. Anyway, I looked at these people and I was just like, wow, they look incredible. And then I was like, I wonder if I obviously look like I drink. Like, it never occurred to me before whether I did or I didn't. But at that point, I was so overweight. I mean, I've lost 5-6 stone since then. So I was massively overweight. I was smoking way too much and just getting sick of it. So I just thought, do you know what? I'm going to give myself the opportunity of a year, hopefully give up the cigarettes. Had every intention of drinking again, but it was mainly for weight loss and to stop smoking. And I'm going to put it on the internet. Again, weird, because I don't really know why I thought that was such a great idea. But I just thought I was going to be so bored that if I shared it with other people, like maybe it would lessen the load. That was really why I did it. I'd also...
What year was this?
2016.
2016. So again, like still early, very early days for sobriety stuff on the internet. You know.
My God!
Even when
I
mean,
there was nothing really.
No. I mean, that's and sorry, going back those pictures, I think I might have seen something similar. How long was it? So it was like a before and after picture. How long was the kind of time between stopping drinking and then after? Was it like 3 months or 6 months or?
No, a year.
A year, right? Sorry, yeah. So I do think I'd seen them, and it was remarkable the change in people. And like what you're saying, did I look like a drinker? I definitely looked like a drinker, but I didn't see it until after I got sober.
No,
you know. And I look at people in the shop and I think, oh, right, yeah, you're definitely, you know, caning it hard, aren't you? You know, and it's weird that, isn't it? It's like how we can tell once we're sober, but we can't see it when we're in it. Yeah,
definitely. Yeah, I feel like that. I will walk down the street and look at somebody and be like, oh, you know, I can just tell when somebody is suffering, I guess.
Yeah. And it's not always the big purple nose, because you see that, you don't see it as much now.
I think it's the eyes.
It's the eyes, definitely, and just the complexion, and it's like, yeah, it's crazy. So what did you do? How easy was it? Just did you do it cold turkey or?
I actually got ill, which really helped me out. So I had decided I was going to give up on the 1st of January 2017 for the calendar year. and I went away with friends on a really boozy weekend, which we did every year. And one of my friends' husbands didn't come initially because he was really, really ill. And then he turned up, and then I ended up getting a lift home with him and caught whatever he had, which I mean, I think it was probably like COVID at the time. It was absolutely horrific. And it just floored me. I couldn't speak, I couldn't hear, I definitely couldn't drink, and I couldn't smoke. I couldn't go out. And it was like the end of November, so all the Christmas stuff was coming up. I couldn't do anything. It was really horrific. But actually, it did me a massive favour because I couldn't drink or smoke and had to stay in. Mm-hmm. And I felt better about mid-December. And then I was like, right, what do I do? Do I get back on it for Christmas? Or do I just carry on where I'm at? Because I've got a really good head start here. And I was like, I'd be a bit stupid to go back. So I just decided to carry on, which by the time I got to Christmas, so I was like 5 weeks sober, I started thinking, oh my God, what have I done? Because I then put it out there in the world, this is what I'm doing. And so I'd told all my friends, told my family. And then you get to Christmas and you're just like, oh my God, I've made a massive mistake. And then I got to dry January and I was thinking, I've made a massive mistake because I just want to drink. And I've still got a year to go. Like, what a stupid idea. But
yeah. And plus, you didn't have that final kind of blowout that you were kind of looking forward to, like Christmas, New Year, party. Like,
I mean, so did, well that weekend.
The
was
weekend,
like,
yeah. but it's like that mental thing in your head because you're thinking, oh, what have I done? This is stupid. Because your brain's telling you didn't do it properly. You didn't have your final thing at Christmas because you're always going to get that, you know. And it's like for the first couple of months anyway.
Yeah, it was hard. Christmas was hard. You know, I don't sugarcoat it to anyone and tell anyone that Christmas is easy because it's not. But I also felt, I've done Christmas, so therefore I don't have to do Christmas next year. I'll be drinking by Christmas next year. Amazing. Yay, got the hard bit out of the way. You know, I still had every intention.
You're already thinking of that already a year.
I know.
In advance. Yeah, you're thinking I could drink on Christmas. It's like 12 months away, Dawn. Yeah.
But then as time went on, I was just like, oh my God, like I just felt so different. And it was around 6 months that I decided I wasn't going to drink again. My life had just changed like so much in 6 months. Wasn't smoking, wasn't drinking, lost loads of weight, you know, did everything that I wanted to do for when I was 40. And then obviously started, you know, I was quite invested into like Club Soda at the time. That was like the main online group. Met loads of people through there and was just like, actually, this is like quite a community. You've just got to find the people who are on the same wavelength as you. Struggled with my friends a little bit because obviously none of them were changing. And I think it was around 6 months that I met the Club Soda girls for the first time, girls and guys, and was like, oh, actually, I just need to find my tribe for it to be okay. Which, you know, it's so, I say to people now, you've got it so easy. You know, the amount of drinks you've got to drink, the amount of communities you've got to pick from, you know, they've got it so easy. We had Bex Blue and one or two or maybe three online groups. Like, it's just incredible what people have got now.
Well, if you're a drinker, all you have to do is walk down High Street, pop into a pub, and you'll be able to chat to someone that will be on your wavelength, and you're fine. Whereas with a sober person, no, you've got to really seek them out. Obviously, it's a lot better now than it was in 2016. You've got more than Bex Blue out there, but yeah. I mean, you're obviously a pioneer, Dawn. You know, you and a few others that were out there doing that online at that time. Because even in 2020, when I got sober, it was still, there was a community. But even in the 5 years that I've been sober, it's just gone, you know, interstellar. But to 2016, that must have been like, there's only a few of us here. You know, you must have felt like absolute pioneers. But thank you so much for, you know, kind of persevering with it and building up what you guys in the Club Soda lot have done as well.
Yeah, it's but that's the thing. We didn't anticipate that it was going to be like it is now. Like, my intention was never to set up a community. My intention was to share the load of my boring life. And the irony of it is that I got loads of messages from people saying, "Oh my God, I'm just like you." It's like, this was before the term grey area drinking was. Are you there?
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, it's got a
Sorry.
bit funny, but yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, before grey area drinking was really a thing. And so I was getting messages from people going, I don't consider myself to be an alcoholic. I don't go to AA, but I relate to your writing that I drink the same as you. And so that's when I started to realize, right, okay, so there are a lot of people like me. And ironically, friends, like you're saying, your friends, I was getting contacted by people who I would never have said have got a problem with alcohol. Drank a bit, had fun at the weekends, but I would never have said, oh, they've got a problem. But then they didn't think I had a problem either. And so it's then you start thinking, well, what is this all about? It's not necessarily that I think in 2016, it was like you either go to AA or you drink yourself to death. There was nothing in between.
Yeah. And it's, so I did a post yesterday or the day before about, hating the words, alcoholic. Because I used to go to AA. I went to NA and I would sit in the room and say, my name's Jimmy and I'm an alcoholic, I'm an addict. And, because I was rock bottom, I was, there's people worse than me, but, I definitely wasn't a grey area drinker because I was drinking first thing in the morning towards the end, And there was a friend of mine from the meetings that came on the post yesterday and started saying, and it was because he's very old school. He's 20 years sober. And he's like, if you don't use that word, then certain people might not be able to get help. But I'm like, but it's not black and white out there, I said, what I'm doing with the podcast is trying to get people before they get as bad as myself. But also there is people that are maybe having half a bottle of wine on a Tuesday night. Now, he might think that that's nothing compared to him, but that's not the point. The point is that they're still having this negative impact of that alcohol on their life because, that, in my mind, my opinion, and my experience, it's only going to get worse. So if it's causing a problem, then it's kind of this snowball effect. You start drinking because you're thinking, oh, I'm drinking too much. My life is shit. I'm going to have another glass of wine. Do you know what I mean? Because it makes you feel better for that little kind of instant gratification. And I think there's so many different people out there that have different variations of a problem with it, It's like that old saying, if you think you've got a problem with alcohol, then you've got a problem with alcohol. So it doesn't mean you have to be, first thing in the morning, down in half a bottle of vodka before you can actually function. Like that's not, and then it's like, an old man sat on a park bench with a bottle in a brown paper bag. Yeah, there's that. And there's that. But also there's someone that's just having, few too many at the weekend and then they don't remember the next day, but they haven't drank a huge amount of alcohol because it affects people differently. And this is the whole point. Like there's not this old school, you're an alcoholic and you've got all this stigma with it. Nah, forget that. That's not what it's about anymore. It's about people having a negative impact with alcohol in their life. And it's like, do you know what? It's not going to get better. It's only going to get worse. So give it up now, And I think because we have this stigma with the word alcoholic, it puts a lot of people off, So I'm so glad that they have brought in the terminology, grey area drinker or middle of the road drinker, because, that's there's so many negative connotations with that word. And I'm so glad that people are starting to find like-minded, because do you know what? The meetings helped me out for the first year, and I know they're there if I need them. I went to Smart. I went to everything basically. And I think a lot of people are scared to go into these rooms, because they don't want people to see them there. And I'm like, yeah, but you know what? They're there for the same reason. But also they want to do stuff like this online in the comfort of their home, get their own support, get their own help, and follow people that they know that have been there before it, like you, like me. And that's where it seems to be at now. And it's changed so much in the past 5 years that I've seen it. And I'm sure in the, what are you, 9 years nearly coming up? 9 years now, is it?
10 this year, my decade
10 this year, yeah. Yeah, wow. That's
so
amazing.
I'm very excited
Well
about
done,
that.
yeah. I'm coming up for 2,000 days. Yeah.
Oh,
We
amazing!
were talking, there was a guy who's,
It gets a bit, you're scratching
yeah,
around a bit the
2000
further you
days.
go, aren't you?
Yeah. Well, I think 2000 is big. Then it's like the next real big one after that must be 5,000. So that's like, well, that must be close to 10 then, isn't it? Yeah.
No, no,
It
no.
will
I've
be.
just
Oh,
done
yeah.
three,
Yeah.
3, 3, 3 because we just celebrate anything these days. Yeah, so I've just done
Yeah.
3,333 days, and then I'll be 10 years in November. So
Right. So
5,000 days.
5,000 is
God,
way up.
yeah. Don't wait for that. Don't wait for that to celebrate.
Don't wait for that. No. But I was chatting to a friend on here last year, and he's I think his sober day is like 3 or 4 days behind mine, and we were talking about it. We were like, you know what? Like, if we were to go out there again and start drinking again tomorrow, it's not about like. Well, I don't know if I've got another recovery in me, but anyway, like if I did that, it would just be so disheartening to go back to day zero. Do you know what I mean? Because like I don't want to do that, and then be in another 5 years' time, like be the same amount of sobriety as I was today. It's like it's just not even fathomable of thinking that. So that helps me stay accountable. It helps me go, do you know what? There's no real point in going back out there and doing it because I don't feel like a drink. I know I don't want a drink, and it's not going to bring me any joy at all. So yeah.
No,
So
I'm a
you've
big believer in the counting the numbers.
yeah, there's a lot of people that go, "Oh, you're a day counter," and I'm like, "Yeah, do you know what? I've got an app that does it. I don't mark it on a calendar every morning. There's an app that tells
I
me."
know.
So, like, I go to the app and it goes, "Oh yeah, I've got that. I've got something coming up." And actually, the 2000th day on this year, so I think it's like in 9 days' time. It's actually on my birthday this year. So
Oh my
I'll be
God, what are the chances? That's incredible.
yeah, I'll be 46 and 2000 days sober,
Oh,
which
that's
is
incredible.
just
Well
mad.
done.
Yeah, thank you. So when did you start kind of building up your Soberfish
Um,
persona and group?
it's a good question. I don't know when it kind of all really went crazy because I didn't
Mm-hmm.
anticipate that people were going to be interested to start off with, and then people were. I guess really it was in 2019 was when I set up my membership group. And the reason
Yeah.
I did that was because I was working full time and I was getting a lot of traction with the blog. So I was getting a lot of messages, a lot of comments to respond to. And I was getting up earlier and earlier to fit everything in and going to bed later and
Mm-hmm.
later. And I couldn't cope with having a full-time
Yeah.
job and doing what I was doing. So I had to find a way of monetizing it, which is why I came up with the idea of setting up the membership group. I think at that time, the Soberfish story had about 5,000 people on Facebook. And the
Mm-hmm.
reason I'm telling you that is because I thought 5,000 people were going to come into my membership group. And when I look at how ridiculous that is, like how I would ever have managed 5,000 people, it's like absolutely
I mean, it
ridiculous.
would have been
But
ideal. It would have been ideal because you'd have been able to take on staff. but I think the way it works is it's like, is it like 10% of whatever whatever followers you've got actually interact with your stuff? So yeah.
yeah, I mean, my membership group has got about, I don't know, about 90 people in it or something. It's a very small amount, but I'm
Mm-hmm.
always in there, like, and always, interacting. I think if you had 5,000 people in there, it'd just be an absolutely impossible task. So I always laugh at myself at how my ambitions were great at that point. And so people came into it, and then it was like, oh right, okay, now I've got two. I've actually doubled my workload, which wasn't the idea. The idea was that I would halve it, and so
Mm-hmm.
that's when I went part time at the job that I was telling you about earlier, and I still work part time for that job, and then on the Soberfish side of it, I've got membership group, and then I train to be a coach. So I now do coaching and run group coaching as well. So
Cool.
2020 for me was when everything kind of, it just went a bit crazy because everybody was stuck at home and everybody's drinking
Yeah.
habits were one moment
They
they were
increased
good.
tenfold.
Sorry.
They increased tenfold in COVID. Like everybody was sat at home. They bought hot tubs, and then because I spoke to someone and they bought a hot tub, because they said it gave them an excuse to go out and drink in the garden. You know what I
Oh
mean?
wow.
Like it was like, so they bought a hot tub so that it was sophisticated and sat with their cocktails or whatever. Yeah, but loads of people just sat. It was a beautiful summer and
Yeah.
no reason to go
Thank
to
God.
work. So every day so every day was a weekend. I mean, I got sober in 2020, which was
Which month did you get sober in?
August.
Wow. So you did
But it had
you
been.
drank the first lockdown.
I was in rehab in the first lockdown, so
Oh my
I
goodness.
the
What a
whole
year
of
you
20
had.
yeah, the whole of 2020 was a bit of everything was coming to a kind of head with my ex at the time. Like I left her, and then I went and stayed with a friend, and then I was he basically kicked me out, and then my family got me into rehab. I came out of rehab, like I think I was in there 2 days, and then the whole world went into lockdown,
Oh my
which was just
goodness.
it was absolutely bonkers. And our counsellors were coming in and saying, I had to queue for 2 hours at Tesco's last night, and it was like 2 meters apart and all that. We were getting like 3 meals a day. I was in there for 28 days, and we were just kind of like oblivious to like we could see the news and we'd do all that, but we weren't interacting with the lockdown world. And then I came out, and it was like, this is just bizarre. I stayed with another friend for a couple of weeks until my flat was ready. I moved into that, and then I relapsed. And then it was like literally for about 2 months until I then got an exemption to come to Isle of Man because my parents had moved here as well. So our borders were basically locked down, and they weren't letting anyone in. But my mum pleaded with like our local MPs over here, got me this exemption, and I came over. And then it still wasn't plain sailing. I took another month or so of just thinking I can drink and not being able to, and pissing everyone off. And then, August came around, and I got a detox at the hospital up here, and then never looked back. Yeah.
Wow.
Did all
I
the
always
work,
think
did the
people that
meetings, did
got
all
sober
that.
in 2020 are absolute legends.
Oh, thank
You
you.
can
Hey,
do
don't
that,
get me
you can
wrong.
do
I don't know
anything.
how. If I'd still been with my ex and like we'd gone into lockdown, because if I'd stayed there another month, that would have been it. It would have been like, well, where am I going to go? What's going on? And I would always think like, how would I have been able to keep up my drinking habits with us all being in the house together?
Yeah.
It was kind of, and then going to Tesco's or Sainsbury's, whatever, and piling up the booze, because I couldn't just nip up to the garage like when they were out the back garden or something. Do you know what I mean? I wouldn't have been able to do that because COVID restrictions. So I don't know how I'd have done it. I'd have maybe had to get sober through kind of default, but yeah. So 2020 was like the first, like everyone's going, oh, this is horrible, COVID and blah, blah, blah. I was like, do you know what? I absolutely love COVID because it got me sober. So yeah. It's crazy. So what's next for you in the kind of sober fishy world and
It's a good
like
question. I don't know really. It's just I'm
yeah.
quite happy with I'm really lucky. I've worked hard to get to where I'm at, and as long as Soberfish allows me to work from the sunshine, I am more than happy with the way that things are going. So it's a good question because I guess I just kind of plod along, and as long as it's affording me to do this, I'm more than happy. This was always my dream to work from abroad, so I'm really happy.
Yeah, well, that's amazing, and I guess that is a dream because not only is it allowing you to do what you want, but also you're helping so many people as well with it. It's just it's an amazing kind of Facebook group, and like I think I followed you first because most people that I follow definitely follow them on Instagram first, and most people don't really have a Facebook kind of persona, but yours is definitely from Facebook that I kind of saw you and followed you from
Yeah,
that, which is amazing.
yeah.
Yeah. What advice?
Sorry.
Go on. No, go on.
No, I was just going to say I started on Facebook. That's where
Mm-hmm.
I first wrote my first post about on the Soberfish story because it was originally called for Sober for 2017, and I think it's just always been my baby on there. In Instagram, I find Instagram difficult. Like I just always have. It's just not really flowed for me. Whereas Facebook, yeah, just kind of flows. And
Yeah.
that's where I've attracted most of the people. I mean, my audience is the biggest on there.
Yeah.
And, you know, I just really I enjoy it as well. You know, I don't think you can do something for nearly 10 years and not have a passion for it. So, yeah, my Facebook
No, I
baby.
mean, I'm exactly the same. Like, I've been doing the podcast just over a year now, and like, yeah, I'm not monetizing it, but I enjoy doing it, and I enjoy just having the freedom to get people like yourself on and chat with you. And like I've said to people, this is kind of my meetings now. This is what I get.
Yeah.
My kind of recovery is all about by chatting to you guys and learning your story, and because that's my first year when I went to AA and NA. That was what kept me sober, listening to other people's stories and going, oh, yeah. And the amount of similarities between your story and my story is just, amazing. It's incredible. So what advice would you give to someone that was kind of sober curious, kind of thinking that it was causing an issue in their life and thinking, I need to get out of this?
Give it a go. Get some support and just give it a go. What's the worst that can happen? You know, when I look back at the reputation that sobriety had, I'm surprised I even bothered, because sobriety is so dull and so grey. I mean, my what's the word? My aim with all of this was to really show that it doesn't have to be what society tells you sobriety is. Sobriety for me, it's like full of colour. I am literally living my best life. And this is only possible from not drinking. If I was drinking, I wouldn't be able to afford to be here. I wouldn't cope with being here because I'd just be drunk all the time. I support people to become sober, which I obviously wouldn't be doing if I was drinking. And I just think, whilst not everybody's going to have the carbon copy life as me, it must show that there is more to life than sitting there wishing for things to change in the bottom of a bottle. The answer isn't there. And I just think, like I said earlier, people are so lucky now. There is so many, you can go to a group where you can still keep drinking and people will support you until you're ready to stop. You can read the Soberfish story. You don't have to be sober. It's a free resource. You can read it, and I get so many messages from people saying, I've been watching you for so long and I've just taken the plunge. Everybody will do it in their own time. But I think, just surround yourself with people who are living that life. And if that's what you want, then that's what you will get.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Like I said earlier, you guys, especially you, Don, you're a pioneer in changing people's attitudes on what sobriety is. Do you know what I mean? Because, like, as you say, back then it was grey, it was bland, it was like, well, if you're sober, you're not doing anything. But it's like, no, you've changed the kind of persona of people, because, like, we're out there doing all sorts of things. We're living our lives, living our best lives. That whole thing where someone's on a booze cruise and they're at the end of the boat and they're down in that and they're going, I'm living my best life. No, they're not. This is living your best life. Absolutely. You know what, Don, you're in Thailand working remotely, and just what did you say at the beginning, that you needed to keep turning the aircon on and off because it's
I know it's such a tough life.
My heart bleeds for you. So, Don, on the back of that, do you regret getting sober, mate?
Absolutely not. It is honestly the best thing. Like,
yeah,
it's really hard to explain to people how amazing it is. If you've got 5 years, you know how amazing it is. It's like when people say I'm 3 months sober and I'm feeling great, I'm just like, yes, but imagine how you're going to feel at 3 years. If you're feeling good then, if you're feeling good after 2 days, imagine giving yourself a month, then imagine giving yourself 6 months. I literally could talk about it forever, because I am still to this day absolutely stunned that without that life was better, because I just thought that was life. I just thought that without it, I was just going to be a shell of myself. And actually I was the shell. Actually, leaving that to one side, I became me. I mean, we were talking at the beginning about, not feeling enough and, not feeling part of the in crowd. You know, you can't really
Mm-hmm.
do a lot more than be sober amongst a world of people that are drinking to feel on the edge, to feel like you don't belong. I've never felt
Yeah.
like I belong so much now, because it's not about what everybody else is thinking, it's about what I'm thinking. And I'm really happy with the skin that I'm in, finally, you know, 50
Yeah.
years on. And actually, I thought alcohol was helping me feel myself, but it wasn't at all. It was literally stripping away everything that I was, and my creativity, my productivity. You know, we were also talking about jobs and things like that. You know, at 42, I thought I was in the job that I was going to die in. You know, we used to laugh and say, thank God there's a lift, because we're going to be 92 and coming up that bloody lift and sitting at this desk. And I
Mm-hmm.
seriously thought that that was, you know, I really enjoyed my job at the time, but I thought that was it, because I didn't know this existed, and I had to stop drinking for this to be able to uh, come to fruition.
Yeah.
Imagine if I just sat at that desk, kept drinking. None of this would have happened. It's just mind blowing. It's
And
mind
then,
blowing.
but then, as we say, that like you'd be starting to get like these weird little illnesses that, that alcohol is related to as you're getting older and you're getting more decrepit. And it's like, the thing is, what you're saying there, all those things like, the boredom, the shell of yourself, that's like, alcohol makes us think that that's what the other side is like, but actually it's completely the opposite. We're living in that
Yes.
shell, like you said. We are like, the boring ones, because all we do is go out at the weekend and drink beer, and we need alcohol to be able to socialize with someone. We're not the boring ones, they are. Do you know what I mean? That's the thing. This is the opposite of what alcohol makes us believe that our life could be like. And yeah, I don't, like I said, there are people that are kind of, they need to do their kind of daily reprieve and all that. I've done with that. I know I'm never going to drink again. I'm kind of just not hankering after it. No interest in it at all. I don't get jealous when I see people going out on the lash or even having a glass of wine with a meal. Nah, I'm not in any way, shape, or form interested in that. And that's taken years. It's not, that didn't happen overnight, but it does happen. And I think with most people, you're like, yeah, couldn't even imagine going back to it. Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah.
But I
Have
think that's
you
the
got
priceless
any?
thing.
Sorry, say again.
That's the priceless thing. Is
Yeah.
because once you can say I'm never going to drink again, that's so powerful to absolutely know that. You know, I get people on the public page say to me, you're getting complacent. You can never say that you'll never drink again. What do you know? You don't know what's going to happen. I'm like, I'm never going to drink again.
Yeah.
There is absolutely there is not one benefit to me ever picking up a drink again. Nothing.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to numb anything out. I appreciate that bad things might happen to me, but I have other coping mechanisms. The last thing I'm going to be doing is going back down that route to go back to that person that I've spent
Yeah.
10 years trying to get away from. It's like, absolutely not. And I think we touched on counting numbers earlier. I know there's people who are like, counting numbers is shit. Counting numbers, has just been absolutely vital for me, because the longer it goes, I'm like a decade sober this year. I can't wait to be
Yeah.
able to say that. Like, it's really important. And
Oh,
it's
it's
also,
massive.
yes, it's absolutely fucking huge. Not a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people will get to that in their lifetime, and I'm very, very proud of it. And there is
Mm-hmm.
and each year that goes, it's another year solidifying that I'm not going to go backwards, because it's just too important for me to go forwards.
Yeah. No, I love that, because we didn't have one this year, but normally I have like a barbecue on my sober date when I used to live up at the cottage, and I would have that. I had it the first year, and because my birthday's in February, so I never have a barbecue birthday. So I thought, well, I'll do it with
So
my
you,
sober
so you
birthday.
were really wise giving up in August, because I'm an October baby and a November soberversary. I still don't get a barbecue.
Yeah. So I mean, I would like to say that I chose the 19th of August. I think it chose me, but yeah. it needed to be done. But yeah, so I don't know what we're going to do this year, because our wedding, we got married on the 1st of August, and my sobriety date's on the 19th. My stepdaughter's birthday is literally a couple of days before that, so it kind of we might amalgamate the whole thing into one. But for the first 4 years that I did it, having the barbecue, it was great. It was like this lovely little celebration. It wasn't like hundreds of people, it was like 20 or 30 people, but it was just lovely to be able to celebrate. And that was it. A lot of people, they go, well, yeah, I'm sober, that's done. Do you know what I mean? But I'm like, no, embrace it, embrace it, shout it from the rooftops. The more people that kind of see how much we're having fun and enjoying life without the booze is beneficial for so many other people. Because if you just kind of get sober and then don't shout about it and don't talk about it and just meld into the rest of society, it's like, well, that's fine, do that, but I think the more and more you need to shout about it, the better. Yeah, I think so.
Couldn't agree more.
Have you got any recommendations for a book, podcast, or a film? One or all three?
Oh God.
And not just any book, Explained. Obviously to do with kind of recovery and alcohol related. Yeah.
Book Alcohol Explained by William Porter.
Yes.
I just think it's a bit of a Bible. And yeah, I think everybody, but I also really like Bryony Gordon's Glorious Rock Bottom, which is like, you couldn't get two different ends of the spectrum of type of book, but I think her book was very relatable for me, which I actually read. I mean, it only came out a few years ago, but I was still sent back to where I'd come from when I read it. She's a powerful writer. Film about recovery.
Yeah.
Oh God, I can't think what it was called now. Oh, it was like a BBC documentary. We'll have to come back to that. I can't remember. And what was the other thing? Podcast. Oh, I've got to say your podcast, haven't I?
Oh, well,
your podcast.
God. I mean, yeah, cheers.
I can't be on your podcast and go, let me just try and have a think.
No, but you know what I do? Like, I kind of link a lot of other podcasts to mine as well, because I'm like, you know what? You don't all have to just be listening to that, because if they're listening to it, then they're obviously listening to it. So it's giving them recommendations for other ones. I don't mind, because I
must admit, these days I'm not listening to many podcasts, but I was the same as you in my first year. I literally, it was like my earbuds were always in my ears, and I was always listening to podcasts. And I used to listen to the Over the Influence podcast, which I don't think is around anymore. I think you could probably still listen to it, but
I think you still get it, but I've not seen any updates for a while. Yeah.
No, I think it's finished. But that's if it's still out there, that's got a wealth of information on it. So would highly recommend that. And it's just what that documentary was called, Rain in My Heart. Oh my God, it's harrowing.
Rain in My Heart. I've watched. So it's a documentary, yeah.
It's very, very old, and
was that the one where they follow about 3 or 4 different people, and there's one lady, and she's basically end of life in hospital?
Yeah. So trigger warning. It is.
We watched that
harsh.
In rehab. It's very harsh, because I think it was like made maybe. I mean, it might be early 90s, but it looks like it's from yesteryear, because it's so kind of grainy film and all that. We watched that in rehab, and it was. They gave us all trigger warnings, but it was harrowing. But I was like, wow, I had no idea. I had no idea.
But I think if you're sitting there on a Friday night thinking, I want to have a drink, and you stick that on, I tell you what, it was fundamental in me not wanting to drink again, because I just remember thinking, fuck, like, is that what happens? Like, it was, it's horrific to watch, but I think it's vital, especially in a moment that you're on the verge of going to have a drink. Just watch that, and I guarantee it'll work.
Yeah, cool. I mean, thank you, Dawn. Thank you, Dawn, for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure getting to know you and hearing your story. Yeah, it has. It's flown past. Yeah. But I think people, I know people are going to get so much from this, and I know you've got massive following anyway, so that's amazing. But hopefully, some of my listeners will be like, oh yeah, Dawn's got a great story. So
Oh,
thank you
thank
so much for
you.
coming on and giving up your time. And
You're very
I
welcome.
guess I'm going to say, what time is it over there now?
It
Is
is
that
6:10
8 o'clock?
in the evening.
6:10. So yeah, enjoy the rest of your lovely sunny evening. Has the sun gone down yet?
Not yet. It will go down. I think it's 6:30 it goes down, but I'm working tonight. So feel sorry for me. I'm working on a
I will
Saturday
feel
night.
sorry for you. I will feel sorry for you. And then you can have an
Yeah,
amazing Sunday on the beach. But yeah,
exactly.
thanks, Dawn.
Thank you ever so much.
Cheers, mate. Speak to you soon. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much, Dawn. I think what, I kind of take most from this episode is, again, going back to the kind of pioneering aspect of Dawn's kind of sobriety and her early journey, and putting her stories out as a blogger and just changing people's opinions and kind of attitudes. Because back then it was like, if you're an alcoholic, you're an alcoholic. There wasn't any of this middle of the road drinking or grey area drinker. It was just, that was you. And if you were that bad, you'd go to AA. Whereas, we see now that there's people that are like, they maybe have a blowout once a month and they think that's too much for me. So they want to get better. They want to get sober, but they don't know how to do it. So they're going to, Instagram, Facebook, and just, like Dawn and, as I say, the Club Soda people, really just paving the way for, people like that to kind of get help. You don't always have to be like rock bottom like I was. And, like what Dawn said, once you realize that this is the best way of life, you don't, once your eyes are fully open, you don't want to go back. You've no need to go back. And I just want more and more people to start realizing that sobriety is the way forward. But, once you've tried it, you're never going to go back. And that's the whole point here, Dawn is coming up on 10 years, so congrats to Dawn when she hits that amazing milestone. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast, Dawn. Been an absolute pleasure. So thank you, and we'll chat again soon. Yeah, thanks, guys. Hit the like, share, subscribe buttons, and give me 5-star review or a 1-star review. Just put some comments on, guys. Because all of these things, comments, and I know there's a mad amount of comments coming on my YouTube now. So if you're not watching this, head on over to the YouTube channel and watch the episode again, but in full Technicolor, and comment, because there's a great little community building up there. Fantastically, I had a guy from Alaska the other night, saw one of my reels, and basically wrote me this bit. I might actually ask him if I can put it on the socials, because he was drinking and he was ready to go and fill up another one, and he was on his phone, and my reel came up, and he poured it back into the bottle, and he got cleaned up, went and spent some time with these animals, and basically, I don't know what he's doing today or whatever, but that was yesterday. And it's just, I'm not trying to big myself up, but it's just great to know that someone on the other side of the world has watched one of my reels and made a conscious decision not to drink the rest of that evening. So whether or not he's going to drink today or whatever, who knows, but it flicked a switch in his head. So that's the reason why I do this. I do the podcast, I do the reels just to help people out there that maybe makes them think, I don't need that drink tonight. Maybe I'll try sobriety again. So that's it. Between Dawn at the far reaches at the beginning and to myself now and all the people in between, we're just doing it for other people that have been there like we were and want to get out of it. So as I say, like, share, and subscribe, because it helps more people find out where the podcast is and helps it grow so that more people can get it. So thanks again. Thank you, Dawn, and see you guys next week. Cheers. Bye-bye.